Alright, welcome to the Hearthstone World Championship of the year 2025. Today, we've got the first 6 games of the group stages. The groups A and B are playing, and today we will know the first 2 people that will advance to the quarterfinals of the World Championships, the winners of each group. So, we have some amazing matches today. We have the favorite Chinese player of at least the Western Hemisphere, Xiao Ti. We have two former world champions that last time they competed won this title. Pocket Train, who won in 2023, and Yan Ming, who won in 2024, as well as some other amazing players, and they are all battling it for this world championship right here and right now. And to start with, we have the Xiaoti versus Definition game 1. Let me actually be over here. All right. And this game was very, very exciting, and it has a little bit of a twist at the end. We have Hunter versus Death Knight. The Elise Hunter from Xiaoti plays quite a bit different than like the regular Discover Hunters that you see on ladder, where it plays much more in a uh, Death Knight type deck where it just plays cards on the curve and it tries to win with that rather than winning with crazy Discover combos like the other deck would. We have a Sister and an Elise for Xiaoti, as well as ways to spend mana every turn. We are debating if we play this Glacial Shard on 1. We decide to do it just because minions in play good, obviously. Not so great hand for Definition. Don't see an Elise. There is a Blob and there is a Chillfall and Baron to play on 3 and 4. So it's not too bad. You might even want to coin a 3 into 3 with this hand, depending on how the deck is built. I think you probably are gonna end up doing it because you just want the corpses so much. You can also see Definition jamming to the music, being relaxed. It's not his first world championship. He's been here multiple times, and yeah, I'm sure he's quite used to this scene already. And so did Zhao Ti. Zhao Ti is actually the person with the most world championship participations at 4. Never won it though. So maybe this is the time. Yeah, Definition decided to hero power away the 2-1 since it was as good on board as playing the free drop. Then ends up playing the Baron. Get 2 cards. Probably better to have 2 cards from your deck than 2 cards that Zephyrus thinks are good for the situation. Xiaoti does play the Elise. I believe there is. Actually, no, there isn't a Renovator in Definition's deck. There are Renovators in a lot of these Death Knight decks in this tournament, so we'll see the locations being destroyed quite a lot. Mostly for the reason that there is Elise in the deck. And there is Copy and Raptors. Unfortunately, my camera will block the production there. Okay, sorry, I'm still figuring this out. Maybe I'll just move myself over here and make myself smaller so that I don't hide the mana. Alright, there we go. We also have the technology of the number of cards in deck and damage on board counted on the screen, which is very nice. Thank you to the amazing production that is doing this for us this year. Yeah, Definition has the Husk with the Pterodax, will clean up 2 of the minions, but it still leaves them quite behind on board, and the Hunter is in a very commanding spot from here on. Although he does miss a good turn here with not finding a Sylvanas, which was probably the first thing we were looking for. We instead get a bird watching. We probably should end up taking this pupil since we can fit. It's actually kind of hard to fill it out. He does end up taking the pupil, and we'll take a mix, so we'll just spell to fill it out. And as long as both of these minions don't die for Xiaoti, or like even if the minions die actually, he's just chilling as long as the Raptors can clean up the rest of the board. With coming down with the Incendius. Interesting discovery here. The Giant would be playable right now because we've already played the Pterodax, but Maladar is a very, very strong card that can cheat out a lot of mana. So we decided to take that one instead. The Incendius does come down for GLT with a copy on it, buffing the eruptions twice, not once, getting them to 3 damage. And he is going to be able to clear this Hideous Husk as well as a Leech using these Raptors as well. It's a really, really strong position to be in. Also has Nael in hand, so we'll be able to access those eruptions a lot easier and be able to basically clear the Death Knight's board every turn on demand, which is a very awkward position for the Death Knight to be in. Tries to find some removal off the Zephyrus to maybe destroy these Incendia? Something like that. Does not find anything that can deal with the 3/11 though, only a wide board removals with Swipe and Lightning Storm instead. And we'll be able to destroy one of them only, and the Raptor, but the other Incendies will stay buffing the eruptions. Jyoti does draw 3 of the eruptions off the top, leaving only 2 in the deck, which is a little unfortunate to draw all of them this quickly, but it's better to draw them now than don't draw them at all. So at least that's the benefit. Probably is going to end up taking another Mixologist just to buff this board a little bit. Normally the Discover Hunter decks like taking Scout a lot, but this one is really far less combo oriented and far more just like play cards and win the board oriented, really. So he is going to end up just, playing another buffed up minion, using the potion to buff their health to make it even harder to destroy the minions. And Definition goes for a Maladar Firak here. And the Firak actually does summon 2 8/8s, and then there's another 8/8 played from hand that was drawn by the Firak. Quite a complicated spot. But there is a Bob in Jyoti's hand, and you could just Bob here, push the 10 damage phase, and there are very few scenarios in which you lose. So we will probably see Jyoti going for that. He goes for the Discover, finds not necessarily cards that are impactful this turn. Unfortunately, Grifta can't be played with the Bob. And there are no lethal outs from the Grifta, I think. Oh, Steal is lethal if you steal the Maladar. He finds deal 6. And I think he gets confused here for a moment. Because this deal 6 is not lethal. Maybe he thought it was lethal. Maybe he thought the pupil was full enough so that he could deal 6 to the face twice. And just ends up not dealing with this board at all and dies. It's literally, like, out of nowhere, absolutely crazy outcome. Definition takes the game and goes up to the 2-0 lead against Zhao Ti. I don't have words to say. Like it just, like, nobody expected this to happen. Like, Hunter was in a very, very commanding position. It looked like he was gonna just win, and suddenly he just, like, brain freezes, lags out. I don't really know how to call it. Yeah, just an absolute disaster for all the GLT fans, and Definition did end up winning that series 3-1 and advancing to the winners match, where he will play against the winner of Pocket Train versus Tensoku. Tensoku also has been, like, Pocket Train also obviously needs no introduction as a 2023 world champion. Tensoku also has been at world championships multiple times. Already a slightly questionable decision by Tensoku to keep Eat the Imp. Pocket does play around the Eat the Imp, which could potentially be in hand by killing the minion, as well as, well, this is the only thing Pocket could do here, really. He will also end up coining the free drop, just to try to get on board and get ahead, which Shaman usually does. The Cycle Orc from Tensoku wants to draw a lot of cards really quickly, and I think in this situation, I would probably start off with prepping Eat on the Mauler to see how it to see how the turn goes, because you kind of want to Web Weaver and play the 2-1, because the 2-1 will draw a card. With the Web Weaver, as we played one already this game, Tansaku disagrees. He decides to just play the 2-1 and eat it. And then Shadow steps the Mauler, which is kind of weird to me, because it makes it difficult to replay the Phoenix. But well, these players are on the World Championships and I'm not, so who am I really to criticize their plays? But I'm going to anyway, because what else am I going to do? I'm not gonna just say what happened, right? I need to add a little bit of spice to it. And thus find the Phoenix of the first map, and with double preparation in hand and double map, this will be an everything must go coming down. Although it is a little awkward, because I believe this everything must go costs 2 now. So with this Wisp will cost 1, but it'll only summon 1 minion. That minion happens to be IRL, and you see from Pocket's trainer reaction how unhappy about this it is. Because this 5 mana spell on the right side of Tansaku's hand, and Tansaku is laughing about it too, is Libram of Justice, which will set health of all of Pocket Train's minions to 1, and also give Tansaku a weapon to clear up one of those minions. Otherwise, these 6/6s would be incredibly hard to deal with for Cycle Rogue. In this situation, they just die to a 1/1 and a O manager from hand, and Tansaku gets to very easily coin this Incendius next turn and basically win the game from there. Or at least be in a very commanding position. Yeah, Pocket plays the Frosty Decor. He is at 30, so the Rogue will still have to put in some effort to finish the game off. 20 cards in the deck. There's quite a bit of asteroids. I don't actually remember how many. Probably like 5 or 6 of them in the deck too. So only like 10-ish real cards in the deck. Difficult to draw them all at once, but he'll end up drawing them eventually. And we can play this Talmos. We can play this Dubious Purchase to draw some of the eruptions. Ideally, you draw some of the eruptions, you leave some of them in hand for the in deck for the next turn to also clear the next board that Pocket can make. And this Insidious is also gonna just stay on the board probably, because the Shaman deck does not really have a way to answer this very large minion outside of, well, the Murlocs that would come down on turn 8. And the Shaman also does not have the board to be able to deal with this Insidious. It is possible for Pocket to hit Moradin of this bird watching to kill the Incendious, but at this point it's not going to matter. The Rogue will draw all of the eruptions next turn, so he's just trying to play around the damage as well as possible. Maybe the Rogue will just run out of damage, and then somehow Pocket could make it to Ziliax. Try to end the game like that, but it is not going to happen, as Tansaku will draw the entire deck with this Platysaur and this Everything Must Go, with the bottom 3 cards all, I think, doing damage to Pocket. He will close this game out and go up 2-1 in the series, and this series eventually does conclude with Tansaku winning and advancing to the winner's match, which I will have for you here. Yeah. Just at the start, we have Death Knight versus Rogue. We see a lot of Death Knight, we see a lot of Rogue, we see a lot of Shaman this tournament. Especially, I think Death Knight had the most play rate, so it's not surprising that that Tansaku, or that we see that many of those decks also in the recap. Yeah, Tansaku has the option. He could hero power the 2-1, spend all of the mana, but not really, because you're spending it on the hero power, so it's not really count as spending the mana in 2025. Or trade the Renovator and trade the 2-1 with the 1/1s. Decides to use the hero power instead. The Death Knight really does want to get on board and push early damage, but trading the Renovator really won't help with doing that. There are no Renovator targets in this Rogue deck, though, so the Rogue deck will, is pretty happy to see the Renovator sitting in Tansaku's hand. Or, well, he doesn't actually see it, But it's pretty happy to see this Renovator being traded away or played for a free to put some pressure. Don't actually hate that at all. It gives you a corpse back, and it's just, well, it's the most stats that you could play on the board on this turn, pretty much no matter what, right? So might as well do it. Yeah, this turn from definition, you gotta equip the weapon, and he is going to set up to try to go for the everything must go next turn with an extra 2 draws from the weapon and 3 draws from the doobie. The EMG will be just playable by coining it out just out of what we see in hand, but we'll also see 6 additional cards, so there's probably going to be some card draw or some preparations there, allowing this EMG to come down for even cheaper. Yeah, I would think I'd want to go face here instead of trading the 2-1, just to get free damage. Tansaku disagrees, even though the free gets traded by the weapon now. Definition will coin this dubious purchase to deal with the Elise. And the EMG is already playable. He is going to go for more card draws though, finds a Wisp off the Cultist map. Being able to get 2 card draws down. Unfortunately for definition though, no another source of card draw for 1 mana available to him will mean that there is going to be only 1 everything must go coming down this turn. Still quite powerful. We still made 2 4/4s on turn 4. Not a bad play at all. But this location does come down. There is a Death Strike discovered, which is a pretty efficient clear when it comes down for 0 mana. Will not be used this turn, since Tensoku is already at 30 life. There really isn't much of a reason to destroy the minion right now, as it doesn't like have any lasting effects, so you're just gonna take 4 damage. Maybe you'll take some asteroid damage and heal for 6 instead of just healing for 4 by removing this minion right now instead of later. Yeah, the second everything must go will come down here most likely with the double prep and the dubious purchase and eat the imp in hand. Should be easy enough. Let's decide to eat the Phoenix and then play the EMG down. We roll, definition rolls a charge minion as well with the cane, pushing a tiny bit of extra damage. Not really that meaningful though, as the Death Strike's gonna heal back. This is kind of on the edge. The good thing for the rogue here is that he has double Shadow Step still in hand with a Mauler, so after the Incendious comes down, which will be happening on the next turn, he will be able to shuffle a bunch of asteroids into the Death Knight's deck. And this is like a little bit of an annoying setup turn because you have 5 cards in the deck. You'd much rather not be drawing those cards, but you really need to find the Incendious. So he does find one, and he does find the Phoenix. And here we have a strange bug interaction. I don't really know how to call this, where this Moonstone Mauler, that definition Shadow Step, is still burning in hand because it was drawn by the Platy that's still on the board, which means if the Platy gets cleared, this Moonstone Mauler will get discarded. It's super weird interaction, and I don't really know if it's a bug or anything. It does not look exactly planned at all. Anyways, in a position like this, when your opponent is about to play Incendious, the plan is either try to gain as much life as possible, or try to put as much damage on the board as possible to either be able to destroy the opponent on the next turn when this Incendious comes down, or try to get out of range of it. In this situation, we really want to try to get as much life as possible, since definition has the Talnos to improve the eruptions up to 15 damage, and also has the Incendious. Also has the Moonstone Mauler with a Shadow Step to shuffle 18 damage worth of asteroids to the deck, which greatly out damages the Death Knight's life total. Yeah, there is a Thessarian on the board, so it is difficult to use the Falnos damage on this turn because the Falnos could get destroyed when the Thessarian dies from an eruption coming down. Definition starts with the Webweaver Talnos, and the Thessarian does get hit, and the Thessarian damage does go face, which kind of introduces another factor of potentially Definition dying from fatigue if he gets 4 fatigue damage. And a bunch of Muller triggers like a bunch of draws which kill the Thessarian. The Death Knight is at 5 right now, and the Death Rattle of the Thessarian doesn't hit the Talnos or the Muller, either of which would have actually ended up in Tansoku winning this game. Because if you play, if the Thessarian would have hit the Thalnos, let me actually rewind to this position, where if the, yeah, right here, if the Thessarian hits the Thalnos, then Definition draws a card from Thalnos' Death Rattle, which puts him to, this first fatigue draw that he gets right now puts him to, 8 life total or something. How does this work? Yeah, he takes 1 fatigue damage here. He takes another fatigue damage from the Pladi, I believe, drawing an extra card. And if that Death Rattle were to hit the Thalnos, he would take a 3rd fatigue damage to go to 4, and then he cannot replay the Mauler because the Webweaver draws before the asteroids are shuffled, ending up resulting in the 4th fatigue damage hitting him and killing him before the asteroids get Tansoku. And if the Mauler would have died, well then the Mauler cannot be Shadow Step and Definition does not have any more damage. And with the Ceaseless for Tansoku being active, that would have meant that Tansoku would win this game by just playing the Ceaseless and playing the Blob of Tar. So quite a crazy game one. Goes to Definition anyways on quite a strange interaction. Also, the interaction where the draws don't continue, so the rogue does not get killed by the fatigue damage, is another one being at play here, which is why Definition ends up winning instead of a tie in this position. A lot of the interaction and a lot of randomness went Definition's way. What a crazy game. And Definition does end up winning this one, and he will end up taking the series 3-0 really quickly to advance to the top 8, be our first player to advance. Now, moving on to Group B, we have a Game 5. This is the first Game 5 of the day. Insane versus Soyorin. This is the Elise Hunter for Soyorin versus the Death Knight for Insane. A little bit of a special twist about the Death Knight is Insane's Death Knight has double Mixologist, which I don't exactly approve of, but it's been performing quite well, so I'm not unhappy with it. It's not a very exciting hunt for Insane, with just a Chill Fallen Baron to play. He does pick up the Blob of Tar and the Mixologist, and the Blob of Tar will come down on turn 4. So now Soyorin does have the option to go either Sylvanas or try to get the encounters going. Does not find tracking, so he decides to trade and go with the Sylvanas instead to clear the Blob. And now this is quite an interesting spot because we're almost certainly gonna Mixologist here as Insane. But if you could get a minion from Mixologist, either by summoning a 2/2 demon or resurrecting a friendly minion that died this game, you will be able to play Exarch Maladar next turn. Insane decides to clear the Sylvanas instead to protect his board against a potential youthful Brewmaster, instead of prioritizing his own game plan, which is a little questionable, but the Nomelia does look quite strong for the next turn potentially. Soyorin does play the Elise here instead of going for an Encounters turn, which I think is how that deck wants to play. Not exactly sure on that, but I think it's fine to play the deck that way. I'm actually quite perplexed by not playing the Nomelia there, but I think you kind of have to set up for the Encounters to come down and save the Nomelia for that instead. This is going to be a pretty strong turn for Soyorin though. and he hits Welcome Home from the location Discover. The Hunter spells on average are not very good, but this Welcome Home will actually come in clutch to get the board under control for Soyorin, clear up like basically all of Insane's minions, play the encounters so that this Nomelia is not very good at clearing up this board anymore. There shows up a Renovator, but unfortunately playing the Renovator will just mean that the Death Rattle of the location from Welcome Home will just summon a free cost minion. And the location only has one charge, so that Welcome Home really messed with that Renovator quite hard. You might have to just take the risk of Maladaring the Ysera and playing the Stitch Giant. I don't think clearing this board will do enough because Soyoran will just make the next board, which is probably going to be even bigger than this. And Insane does agree. He quickly picks a Mixologist Potion and plays the Giant, which this still wouldn't look that bad, but there is a Death Roll coming down for Soyorin with the Niri being in play, which actually doubles the Death Roll, which means the minion. Well, technically it gets destroyed twice, but from the second time there was no minion to destroy, but it still deals 8 damage 2 times. Another strange interaction going on. Puts Insane to free health, which will be very hard to recover from, if not impossible. I think it is just straight up impossible here. There is an AoE plus Resurrect on that Mixologist Potion, but I do not think that is going to be enough, especially without the Taunt minion coming down. Yeah, the Shell Wrestle is corrupted. So Soyoran does actually need to find the free damage. Here, he has 2 options to find it, Grifta and the Mixologist. He decides to go for Scout and click the location. Oh, third option being the free options actually. Third option being the location. He goes to Scout location first, which I am not very thrilled with because that he just took away one of his options there. But he hits Grifta Steel anyways for the lethal and ends up winning the series 3-2. Then we have this Chonsu versus Yanming, Cycle Rogue versus Quest Warrior. This was like one of the first times we've seen the Quest Warrior today. I think Insane played it a little earlier versus Soyorin. And this comes down versus Yanming's Cycle Rogue. The Cycle Rogue plays has a game plan too fast for the quest to matter. So the Control Warrior just ends up mulliganing the quest away. And I think we have their cameras wrong. The person on playing on the top, playing the rogue, is actually Yanming, and on the bottom is Chunsu here on the warrior. And Yanming does just play a lot of minions because the warrior does not have ways of dealing with early minions. Now, well, now when the cameras did go back to where they were supposed to be. Anyways, yeah, this board just represents a lot of damage, and there is not a single card in the warrior that would deal with this. You can, or at least on turn 4. On turn 5, you can find Hostile Invader, which is guaranteed to be drawn off this all-you-can-eat if we play it. The other option would be to play New Heights or Bulwark, actually, if you're really concerned about this board, but I think all you can eat is like strictly the strongest option here. Shansu decides to New Heights instead, assuming that he will be able to just brawl to clear whatever this board is going to be. And Yanming does just go full tempo. Here draws a bunch of asteroids, making this EMG cost 0, which will get played, and also ends up Shadow Stepping the Mauler to shuffle more asteroids into the deck. The warrior is already at 18 health total, and there is also a 6/6 on the board. A little bit of a waste of 2 mana playing the dagger, but there wasn't really much else that he wanted to play, as the Mauler and Halnos are usually set for the combos later. In the classic Yanming fashion, the 6/6 wins the brawl. And another crazy Cycle Rogue turn happens with the Eat the Imp. And actually, Yanming just draws enough asteroids here uh, to have lethal on turn 5 against the Control Warrior, who admittedly did not do much this game. Uh, Quite a crazy start to that one. And Yanming will eventually take this series, I think 3-1, I don't quite remember, which will put us to this final match of the day. Soyorin going up versus Yanming, and it's a Quest Warrior Mirror. Buckle up for this one. This actually Yanming played this game as if he was waiting his entire life to play this game. Soyorin on the play, so he will have some extra mana this way. On the coin, Yanming with extra cards, which are quite relevant in this matchup because a lot of what this matchup is about is drawing through your deck as quickly as possible, then playing the quest, trying to get the rewards as quickly as possible, and putting up a ton of pressure with those rewards. And either you end up killing the opponent with the time warp turn, dealing about 80 damage on it, or if the opponent is able to get out of range of that, then it comes down to a resource battle, which we may or may not see. Yeah. No ramp for either of the players so far. Yanming does coin the ham, eating the renovator, which will get dealt with. I'm not actually sure if you're supposed to deal with the ham here, as it is just a oh well, does just remove the minions from your deck, and even though the minions are quite valuable, you might just want to cycle through your deck faster. Siren also plays his own ham, and Yanming just does not have a way to remove it, like even if he wanted to. Goes for double shield lock into New Heights instead. You really want to get that ramp in the Warrior Mirror as quickly as possible, so that you're just spending more mana than your opponent. Yeah, the Sleep Under the Stars, a choice that Yanming went for in this deck specifically, I think, for this mirror, to be able to draw even more cards and get to your rewards as quickly as possible. Yeah, this is quite actually unfortunate for Yanming that he cannot clear this 7/7 that is just dealing 7 damage to him every turn. And eating up his minions, although the eating up his minions may be considered an upside. Soyorin does just play the Great Dracorex with gaining 10 armor, gets even more ahead on board, and will force Yanming to use some removal on these minions at some point. And Yanming decides to play double the Crocolist spell and the Brawl, all in the same turn, which is an efficient way to gain 10 and remove the minions from the board. Unfortunately for Yanming, the Great Dracorex actually survives, which usually you want the 2/3 to survive a brawl like this, so that you don't actually have to shield slam it. Now Yanming has to use a shield slam on that, which can be an important resource in this game. Quite a difficult turn from Soyorin because his hand is a little bit too full for what you want to do here. Because like you really do want to get this Marin out of hand. You really want this Yor to draw cards. But yeah, the hand is too full to do all of that. So he does end up like AoEing his own Yor a little bit. Just to empty some cards out of hand. I'm not sure if I would personally go for that. I feel like I would have maybe wanted to get some of these expensive card draw cards out, especially since we have the quest ready to go next turn. Yeah, so in this position, I mean, this is looking extremely awkward for Soyorin because he hasn't found New Heights this entire game, so he's kind of stuck at 10 mana here. Really not being able to do much. Eventually finds his New Heights at the end of this turn from the Yor draw, which is going to let him play it this turn. And Yanming does just play the reward, try to get his rewards going as quickly as possible. A Nether Portal is actually quite nice in this situation, because the infinite free twos will just drain resources out of Soyorin, making him clear the boards every turn or push damage. Neither of those is desirable, really. Yeah, Siren draws both the new heights, and he wants to get them going as quickly as possible. I think Yanming finds his second new heights at some point this game too, as his maximum mana is at 16 right now. And here Yanming stares at the bulwark, probably not concerned about it too much, as the Fritus can just chip away at it. Siren is at 90 life, which is at the point where you're like maybe out of range of the combo, but not quite. It's like on the edge, really. Yanming just gets the bulwark out of hand here, pushes the damage. And actually swings with the bulwark, since he's not concerned about his opponent's life total or his own life total as much as he is about his opponent's, as he's trying to set up the kill with the time warp. Yeah, Sayarian goes for Death Rattle and Armor on this location, since the opponent, since Yanming still has the Renovator. Sayarian's Renovator got eaten by Ham. Meanwhile, Yanming gets to play the Elise and immediately play the location, get plus damage, even swings with this Bulwark again for 5 extra damage. He really values limiting opponent's life total more than this, more than his own. This is a slight, I think, misorder from Sayorin, where he played this all-you-can-eat last, like after the hostile invader instead of before. Not a fan of that, because you just remove that spell burst from the hostile invader in case you wanted to use it to clear the Fritus next turn, in case Yanming would have left it up. Yanming doesn't end up playing his Dracorex, does not leave it up. And this board, again, it's slightly annoying. It will end up costing Siren some resources, and Siren goes for the second Elise location before he even managed to play the first one. He does end up picking, I think, exact same location, Armor and Death Rattle. And I really wish we, in Siren's position, would have played the location instead of this Elise here and the Barnabas. So now this is a very unusual turn that you can see from Yanming. So when a strong player does a super unusual turn like this, you have to know that there's something special going on that they have in mind. And he goes for copying the Barnabas and playing it, making all of the minions in his deck cost 0. So we will see the result of that setup, but it is clearly setting up for some sort of combo turn that involves drawing your deck of the Sleep Under the Stars. And he just starts going really quickly and really confidently. Plays the Ceaseless Expanse, the Amara, the Sulfuras, and goes for Sleep Under the Stars with 5 mana left, so that he can have a good chance of finding lethal. Doesn't quite have the hand space to draw all of the cards from the deck. He couldn't draw the last card, so this was not guaranteed, but very likely. He does find Time Warp and Galvadon, and a couple of other cards that are pretty strong here. Refreshes the mana to be able to fit in the hero power, and with the Galvadon having Windfear and with the Elise location, this will be more than enough damage to conclude this warrior game. Really well played by Yanming here. He knew exactly what you are supposed to do in this matchup and executed it perfectly. And it also did help that Soyoran did not have the ramp spells early enough to get this going. I will not be able to show you the rest of the games in this match, but Yanming does end up reverse sweeping the warrior. And winning this series 3-2 and qualifying to the top 8 as the second player alongside Definition. So the current standings are as follows. We have Definition at 2-0, Tensoku at 1-1, and Pocket Train and Jiaoti will be fighting for survival tomorrow, or not tomorrow, on Saturday, as the first game of the day. Don't miss it. As well as Insane and Chonsu. Insane, my favorite player of these two groups at least, and also a person that I helped to prepare for this tournament. Yanming does advance. Soyorin is in a good situation to advance to the top 8 as well, as he only needs to win one game, similarly to Tansaku. Tomorrow we have the ladder beast Gabi, the Russian streamer Phil, everyone's favorite child Maxibon, and the veteran of the competitive scene Fury Hunter, also a runner-up in last World Championship. As well as we have some more interesting decks tomorrow, slightly more interesting with Egg Warlock, which I'll try to showcase. And I'll also try to showcase the unique Pocket Trained Fury Hunter lineup, which I didn't have a chance to do today with the Location Druid and Dragon Warrior. We'll see how that goes. Yeah. Anyway, that's gonna be it for me for today. Thank you all for staying with me all the way until here, and I'll catch you tomorrow for the next recap. Bye!